I see you. I see.
I bring it down like.
I see you. I see.
I bring it down like.
Lofi Poli Sci, how we doing out there? Lofi Studios out in New Orleans. Dr. P coming at you with what's going on in the world today. What's going on in your world today? Right into the show to let us know. Alright, down to business, people. We got that wild cherry diet Pepsi, comme habitude. And we got bubblicious bubblegum, ça c'est bien. And I got that feeling, yeah, you know that feeling? Like WTF turkey. What are you trying to do over there to sentence someone to 2,352 years in prison? Okay, let's backtrack just a little bit. Turkey is run by resident President Dictator Erdogan, who doesn't like opposition. Oh, no. You know, he was prime minister in the past. It was a parliamentary system in Turkey, but then he changed the constitution to a presidential system and became El Presidente with even more power than before. And then the mayor of the city of Istanbul right now is his political opponent. And like we said, President Erdogan does not like opposition. He be a bit scared, that's right, because that opposition be popular. So his government, President Erdogan's government that is saying that the mayor committed 142 different acts of corruption, and 401 other people are involved, and the maximum sentence for being convicted of 142 counts of corruption would be, wait for it, 2,352 years. I mean, if you're gonna say you don't like somebody, I think this is a pretty good way to tell them that you don't like them, right? It's pretty clear here. We're gonna let you know what happens next for sure when it comes out. Now, out in Brazil, where COP30 is taking place, that is the United Nations Conference of Parties for the Environmental Summit of World Leaders coming together each year to talk about climate change, global warming, and see what committee agreed upon to do something about it. Now, COP30 taking place is a story unto itself. That's for sure. We're going to come back to that once the summit is over to see what international climate accords were made or not made. We'll wait and see. But I saw a headline today that read, "Protesters break into COP30 venue in Brazil," end quote. And I was like, whoa. So, did protesters break into the inner chambers of all the world leaders and storm the United Nations Conference of Parties of Climate Change and have the presidents and prime ministers running for the windows? No, they did not. But that's surely what this headline wants to imply. That way they will get that click on their story. Don't you know? But I did not, I refrained from clicking on that story. Because what really happened is that indigenous people in Brazil have been protesting the Brazilian government for encroaching on their ancestral homes in the rainforest and other lands for a long time. And indigenous protesters took COP30 as an opportunity to protest and let the whole world see them, to get some name recognition out there for what's going on, what the government of Brazil is doing. And so what did they do? They did go inside of a building that is part of the complex of buildings that is hosting COP30. And there was a confrontation with security forces. But this headline here, for shame. But we'll come back to COP30 outcomes soon enough, my friends. Now let's jump to the future. All right, that's 5 seconds later, so we are now in the future. You like how that works? Me too. All right, and in 2 years from now, in 2027, it's been announced that Ethiopia will host COP32, the United Nations Summit of World Leaders Conference on Climate Change and Global Warming. Super important development here. Look, global warming and climate change is no longer a debate. The world and every country in it agrees the planet is increasing in temperature, and the overall climate is changing. Full stop. People argue about the degree to which this is taking place, sure, but it's planetarily agreed it's taking place. And it's also planetarily agreed that developing countries, in particular African countries, have very little to do with causing this. It's because their carbon footprint is next to zero. Developing areas are feeling the effects hard-like. And dealing with climate change problems, it's an expensive thing. And developing areas do not have the money to deal with it. That's it. But finally, We're getting a United Nations summit on climate change in a developing country, in an African country, and this matters in the modern debate. So stay tuned to Lofi Poli Sci for the next 2 years to get more updates. As I believe I did hear someone say today, did they say today that they were going to stick around and listen after the semester is over? Well, we'll have to wait and see if listenership drops back down to the 5 people that it normally is, or if it will be 6 come the end of December. Now, we are revisiting the countries of Thailand and Cambodia, who were previously fighting, not quite a war, but border conflicts, military conflicts, and tragically, people lost their lives. And a prime minister was ousted. But the countries, they made a truce, they made a ceasefire, they signed some paper. But now, that paper was placed on a landmine. And that landmine blew up. Landmines are horrible and indiscriminate killers of anyone who walks on them. That's why, generally speaking, they're internationally outlawed by almost every country in the world. Those who don't, that's another story. But sure enough, someone walked on a landmine. And the dominoes started falling. And the conflict is reemerging as we speak. Eyes open on Thailand and Cambodia, people. Eyes open. Ears to the ground. And the last piece of news to send you on your way for the day. A little controversy has emerged in the world of Guinness Book of World Records. Video gaming, marathoning, and Lofi Poli Sci. That's right. Come real close, my friends, as we gotta tell you some video gaming stuff. Gamer hashtag Grasshopper, a Dance Dance Revolution aficionado, if you will, has just set the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest video game marathon of 144 hours, aka 6 days of gaming and dancing in Dance Dance Revolution. Alright, we need to breathe a second, let our heart monitor not go off. You cannot stay awake for 6 days straight. You will die. You will go crazy. Your body will force you to collapse and go to sleep. You will pass out. It is impossible shenanigans. You can't do it. You cannot game for 6 days straight. We know. Lofi Poli Sci tried when we were a wee lad, and no, it cannot take place. So, Lofi Poli Sci, we do some digging. We do some real-world investigative reporting to get to the heart of the potential gaming marathon scandal, to see what Grasshopper was really hopped up on. Was it crack cocaine? Was it methamphetamine? Was it a yearly dose of Adderall all in 1 week? No. The gamer used cheat codes. Cheat codes in life they used, that for every 1 hour of dancing, Grasshopper got a 10-minute break. And these breaks could accumulate to sleepy time for a few hours. So, the truth is revealed. Grasshopper took naps and did not dance for 144 hours straight. Grasshopper did not game for 144 hours straight. Grasshopper did not run a marathon. You don't hear about marathoners running 22.6 miles or 42.2 kilometers and taking a nap in the middle. Because that's not what a marathon is. A marathon is an all-in-one kind of thing. Taking a naps during a gaming marathon? Pfft, please. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Lofi Poli Sci investigative journalism breaks the fraud of Guinness Book of World Records mislabeling a video game marathon. Come back next week to find out the latest on esports. Or not. Who knows? But catch us on Instagram and YouTube to write into the show. And don't forget to eat your cereal with a fork. And do your homework in the dark. Love you, Lofi. And this, just a snap of what's going on in the world today.
I see.
I bring it down like.
Always remember that Lofi Poli Sci is more than just me. It's the we that we be. Pickering, signing off.